play the Elizabeth Warren, Mick Mulvaney thing because she actually basically calls Mulvaney out on the same dynamic and is basically like, you're gutting consumer protections for the finance industry and you're basically just bragging that it will piss me off personally.
Yeah, let's play this clip
Yeah.
with Elizabeth Warren. Now, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, just to remind people, was an idea of Elizabeth Warren's years and years ago. During the early aughts, she was a professor at Harvard who was writing extensively about bankruptcy, and like literally she was like a guest poster at Talking Points Memo, that type of thing. And she ultimately was tapped to form the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. She could not get through Senate confirmation or was not put up because there was some clear concern that she would be too effective at her job, frankly. So Rob Corddry ended up being the head of the CFPB. Elizabeth Warren went on to run for Senate in Massachusetts. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is literally her baby. And since Mick Mulvaney has taken over, there has been not a single enforcement action by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I mean, it's just sort of shocking. And here she is questioning Mick Mulvaney at a Senate Banking Committee hearing yesterday on Thursday.
Never supported the consumer watchdog, Mr. Mulvaney. You got to Congress after the CFPB was created, but in 2012, you voted in favor of a Republican budget that called for eliminating the agency entirely. Is that right?
I don't have a specific recollection, but that sounds familiar to me.
Sounds
yes, ma'am.
familiar. Okay. But that was only the beginning. You also voted for Republican budgets that eliminated the CFPB in 2013, 2014, and 2015. Does that sound right?
Again, yes, ma'am. There were occasional Republican budgets I didn't vote for, and I don't know what was in them, but generally speaking, I see your point. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And in 2015, you also supported a standalone bill that would have killed off the CFPB. Is that right?
I think that's correct. I think I was a co-sponsor of that.
Okay, so I want to take a look at what would have happened if you had gotten your wish and the CFPB had been abolished as early as 2012. In 2017, the CFPB shut down a company called Top Notch Funding, which was scamming 9/11 first responders out of the taxpayer money they got to treat medical problems developed after 9/11. Mr. Mulvaney, if the CFPB had been abolished like you wanted, top-notch funding might still be out there stealing from 9/11 first responders, right?
They might be, or the FTC might have enforced the law
or some other
against
agency
them.
might magically have intervened when they didn't.
Why would it be more magic to have the FTC do it than the Bureau?
They have a history of not doing this. You know, in Congress, you repeatedly tried to kill the consumer agency. Since you got to the agency, you have announced that you won't use the exact enforcement tool that CFPB used to stop every single scam that I've mentioned today. You've taken obvious joy in talking about how the agency will help banks a lot more than it will help consumers, and how upset this must make me. But here's what you don't get, Mr. Mulvaney. This isn't about me. This is about active duty military. It's about first responders and students and seniors and families, and Ari and his dad and millions of other people who need someone on their side when consumers get cheated. You are hurting real people to score cheap political points. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, for what it's worth, there it is. And Mulvaney's, of course, not going to implement any of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's tools to hold people and companies and financial institutions accountable to the way that they rip off consumers. But at least it's on the record, as it were. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, we should say, has been considered one of the best government agencies that's been created in decades, and was incredibly effective and saved hundreds of billions of dollars, my understanding, for consumers.
What does this guy even do all day? Like, seriously, like, Republicans are probably against no-show jobs, right? Like, this sounds kind of like that.
Well, first of all,
dismantling the entire agency,
yes,
meeting with
and
lobbyists.
I would also would argue that they're against no-show jobs. But
Right.
if you want to get a sense of what it is that Mick Mulvaney, now that we've heard from Elizabeth Warren complaining that he's not doing anything positive, if you want to hear about what he's actually doing at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, here is Keith Ellison, who tweeted a picture of a newly frosted window at Mulvaney's Consumer Financial Protection Bureau office. He wrote, Mick Mulvaney touts himself as Mr. Transparency, but today, when I showed him this picture, he admitted it was his office at CFPB and that he had the glass walls in the building frosted like this.
So he can take naps.
Yeah, exactly.
I would, if we're basically speculating about his behind the glass wall activities, I would say much more disturbing things than taking a nap.
God knows.
Whatever
what
that
Mulvaney
evil little
does
leuprecon is up to.
put himself to sleep.
We're having
every day.
executive time.
Yeah, Mick wants executive time.